Hey guys, John T. Hickmet here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to talk about something that's been coming up a lot in our mind-body community lately. I think a lot of people misunderstand allowing. They think the goal of recovery is to become someone who allows all day long and gets really good at meditation. I don't actually think that's the goal at all. I think allowing is simply one of the methods we're using to help us move through life with more ease. Depending on where you're at in recovery, how to use allowing might look very different. So if allowing isn't the goal, what actually is? That's what I want to explore in today's video. So I don't think allowing is the goal. I think allowing is a method that we're using to help us move through life with more ease. It's helping us learn how to work with our nervous system in a way that's more conducive to well-being. It's helping us build a different relationship with ourselves and our experience. Sometimes people, they watch my videos and they think that allowing is the destination. They think the whole point of healing is to become someone who allows all day long. They think that if they can just master allowing and do it perfectly, then they'll finally be okay. I don't actually think that's what's happening. I know, we're learning a different way of moving through life. I think we're learning how to exist with uncertainty, discomfort, and emotional experiences that we've spent years trying to avoid, suppress, or control. Allowing simply becomes one of the methods that helps us learn that. Most of us were handed a handbook when we were younger. We learned how to survive. We learned how to fit in. We learned how to gain approval, avoid rejection, and keep ourselves emotionally safe. We learned which parts of ourselves were acceptable and which parts needed hiding. For many of us, that handbook involved people-pleasing, perfectionism, controlling tendencies, and becoming very good at monitoring ourselves. We learned to anticipate problems, fix discomfort quickly, and constantly think about how to keep ourselves and other people okay. The thing is, that handbook may have been incredibly useful when we were younger. It may have helped us survive difficult situations and relationships. It may have helped us belong and feel safe. But survival strategies don't always become the most useful way of living the rest of our lives. Then symptoms show up, pain shows up, anxiety shows up, fatigue shows up, IBS shows up, burning sensations show up. It's almost as though the nervous system is gently saying that perhaps the way of approaching life isn't working anymore, and perhaps something different needs to be learned. And this is the really important bit. The nervous system is far more intelligent than the handbook we were given as kids. It's an ancient, wise system that's always adapting, communicating, and trying to move us towards what needs attention. Thankfully, allowing becomes one of the ways we can start listening. So, what does allowing actually mean? I think this gets overcomplicated. Allowing is usually something we practice in meditation, where we start learning how to let our experience exist exactly as it is, instead of immediately trying to change it or make ourselves feel differently. You don't need to know in your meditation whether it's fear, anger, sadness, or something else entirely. You simply go into the body, notice what's happening. Maybe there's tightness, numbness, restlessness, or a restricted breath. Maybe there's very little happening at all. Whatever you notice, you let it be there. You keep your attention with it. You stay with whatever is present and observe what happens next. The sensations may intensify. They may stay the same, disappear, return, or move around entirely on their own. The whole practice is teaching your mind and body that you're no longer trying to control your experience. You're no longer trying to relax yourself, comfort yourself, or get yourself unstuck. You're showing yourself that experience can move around exactly as it wants to. If fear arises, fear can be here. Anger arises, anger can be there. If nothingness arises, nothingness can be there. The practice isn't really teaching you how to feel better. It's teaching you how to stop interfering with what you're feeling. That's done in a meditation. Why does allowing feel so counterintuitive? Of course this feels difficult because it goes completely against the handbook you were given. The handbook said don't feel fear. The handbook said get rid of anger. The handbook said calm yourself down and figure everything out. The handbook taught you that uncomfortable experiences needed fixing and figuring out as quickly as possible. Allowing says something entirely different. It says fear can be here, anger can be here, uncertainty can be here, confusion can be here, doubt can be here, even numbness can be here. That's an incredibly difficult and different way of approaching yourself. If you spent 20, 30 or 40 years trying to control your experience, it makes complete sense that this work is going to feel strange. You're essentially learning a brand new language. You're learning how to stop fighting your experience and instead build a relationship with it. So what about the parts of you that do not want to allow, that go into meditation and don't want to allow? It's incredibly important because as soon as people start practicing this allowing in meditation, they usually notice parts of themselves that absolutely hate it. They notice parts that want certainty, parts that want to get unstuck, and parts that think the whole thing is dangerous. They notice parts that want to understand exactly why they're feeling what they're feeling. They notice parts that want to feel comfortable, parts that think they're failing if they don't immediately feel better after the meditation. Those parts of you make complete sense. They've probably spent years trying to protect you from discomfort and uncertainty. They don't need to disappear either. In fact, those parts are welcome as well. I've spoken about this in lots of other videos because I think it's such an important distinction. Allowing isn't just about allowing emotions. It's also about acknowledging the parts of us that don't want our experience to be here in the first place. Can allowing become another form of perfectionism? So here's the meat of the video. Absolutely. I see this all the time. People ask me all the time if they need to allow all day long to get better. They ask me whether they're allowing properly and whether they're not recovering because they haven't done enough meditation or allowing properly. They ask me what the perfect schedule is and how they know if they're getting it right. What's happened is that they've escaped symptom perfectionism and accidentally created allowing perfectionism. It's still the same pattern underneath. I have to get this right. I have to do this perfectly. I can't make mistakes, otherwise I won't get better, I won't be okay. Allowing has now become another thing to control. Ironically, the very thing that's trying to teach us how to let go of control has become another strategy for controlling ourselves. That's usually a sign that we've become identified with the method instead of simply using it as a tool. No method is the king or the queen. This is important because the mind-body world has become incredibly diverse. There are people talking about brain retraining. There are people talking about allowing. There are people saying don't meditate and simply get on with your life. There are people saying you need to meditate every day and reestablish a completely different relationship with yourself. There are all these different approaches, and one thing seems clear. Different methods seem to work for different people. It's great. Multiple truths can coexist. I happen to talk a lot about allowing because I think it's incredibly conducive to nervous system well-being. It worked for me. I think learning how to be with our experience is an incredibly important skill, but I don't think any method is king or queen. Methods are here to serve us. They aren't here to define us. The second we start believing that one particular method needs to encompass our entire identity and be done perfectly forever, we usually end up creating more suffering for ourselves. Why does identification create suffering? I think this goes even deeper. We're often taught that identity is incredibly important. That's the handbook we've been offered. We're encouraged to become somebody and hold tightly onto who we think we are. The problem is that life will change. You might have once been a lawyer and no longer enjoy that work. You might have once loved running and no longer want to do it. You might have been one version of yourself 10 years ago and be someone entirely different today. You probably are. Everything always changes. Meditation teachers and practitioners have pointed out for centuries that suffering often arises when we hold things too tightly because eventually life changes and we're forced to let go anyway. So I think methods are exactly the same. I'm someone who allows. I'm someone who meditates. I'm someone who heals this way. All of these identities need to be held lightly because the method is not the destination. It's simply a vehicle helping us move through life with ease. So in all of this, how much allowing should you be doing? The answer is that it depends where you're at. If you're completely new to this, then learn about allowing, consume content, get support, ask questions, start practicing. There may be a period where you become quite interested in it because you're learning a completely new way of relating to yourself. Wonderful. I generally suggest people practice around 5 days per week and then take a couple of days off, learning how to allow your experience in meditation and then also spend time enjoying yourself and getting back to life. The goal isn't to make allowing your entire identity every moment of the day. For 10 or 20 minutes every day, learn how to stop interfering with your experience. Learn what it feels like to let fear be here, uncertainty be here, discomfort be here. Then go on after the meditation and be human again. This gets onto the point of different stages need different things. If you're bedbound, getting back to life might mean getting out of bed and walking to the kitchen. It might mean finally sending an email you've been putting off, or sitting outside for 10 minutes in the sunshine. If you're functioning a bit more, getting back to life may involve seeing friends, returning to exercise gently, or saying yes to a social event that you've been avoiding. If symptoms have become more background noise, maybe getting back to life for you means dating again, traveling again, or putting yourself out there in ways that feel meaningful to you. Everybody's version of getting back to life looks different. That's why mentorship and community can be so useful, because sometimes we need help understanding where we're at and what our next step actually looks like. Recovery is a dance. I don't think recovery is about doing one thing all the time. Sometimes you need to lean more heavily into allowing. Sometimes 20 minutes of meditation each day is exactly what serves you. Sometimes you're learning something entirely new and it feels incredibly powerful and helpful to meditate every single day. Then there may come a stage where you feel stuck, the meditations start feeling different, and maybe you begin thinking you're doing something wrong. Perhaps you're not. Perhaps the practice now is doing 10 minutes instead of an hour of meditation and spending more time living again. Perhaps the practice now is taking a holiday, seeing friends, or returning to exercise gently. So you need to know where you're at. Recovery is a dance between learning how to allow your experience in meditation, therapy, and learning how to get back to life in the middle of uncertainty. We're not learning how to make perfect decisions. It's one of the biggest shifts in this entire process. People often ask me exactly what schedule they should follow and exactly what decisions they should make. They want certainty, they want guarantees, and they want to know the perfect way of recovering. I know exactly why you want this, but I don't think that's what we're learning. I think what we're learning is how to tolerate the emotional consequences, the outcomes of imperfect decisions. Maybe I make a decision and I regret it, but regret is allowed. Maybe I make a mistake and I feel ashamed, but shame is allowed. Maybe I say yes to something and feel anxious afterwards. Anxiety is also allowed. We're not learning how to avoid difficult emotions. We're learning how to become people who are more capable of having difficult emotions. That's an entirely different way of approaching your life. Big behavioural changes will often need to happen in this process. By the time symptoms have become chronic in your life, there may be more going on than simply learning how to meditate. You may start noticing perfectionistic tendencies more. You may notice your people-pleasing tendencies, the controlling tendencies, high-achieving tendencies. You may notice ways that you're approaching life that no longer are sustainable. You may even notice parts of yourself that are self-sabotaging your recovery, a hard one to hear. I'll go on that holiday when I'm better. I'll start dating when I'm better. I'll start living again when I'm better. That can become a stumbling block. Sometimes healing involves learning how to allow fear and uncertainty while also beginning to live again in small, meaningful ways. This brings us on to the real goal. At some point, life is going to present all of us with experiences that we don't particularly want. There'll be grief, disappointment, mistakes, uncertainty, and moments that completely break our hearts. None of us are exempt from being a human, from all of those experiences. Allowing doesn't exempt us from feeling deeply. It doesn't remove pain from life, and it doesn't guarantee that we'll never struggle again. What it does do is help us become more capable of those human moments. We become less frightened of our emotional lives. We become more resilient. We become more optimistic and more willing to trust ourselves. We learn that difficult experiences can arise and we can still keep moving forward. That's the goal. The goal isn't becoming somebody who allows perfectly. The goal isn't becoming somebody who meditates all day long. The goal is learning how to move through the ups and downs of life with more ease and becoming somebody who is increasingly able to be with whatever is presented to us. Allowing is simply one of the methods that helps us get there. That's the video. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments where you're at with allowing and whether you've noticed yourself becoming perfectionistic about it. Thank you for watching. As always, like I said, asking the questions in the comments, any questions that you have. If you're watching this in my community, of course, ask questions, share stories. I'm aware in filming this video, the sun changed the light in here, and I didn't want to stop filming the video because I was on a roll. So apologies if the light in this video is a bit off. That's it. Looking forward to hearing from you soon.